What if your mind isn't fully yours? Think about that for a sec or two. What if every thought you have, every impulse, every free will decision may just be your brain's way of keeping you convinced that you exist? So, when you question your thoughts, what if it's not you doing the questioning, but your mind testing whether you've noticed the illusion yet? Then you start to question that illusion. Who or what? What will you start questioning next? It's just another thought, pretending to be in control. Hi, I'm Jay, and you're watching The Curious Explorer, the channel where we unravel the mysteries of psychology, philosophy, and the unseen forces shaping the human thought. Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the silent puppeteer within you. This is the dark psychology exposed, what your mind may be hiding. The greatest deception is the one we play on ourselves. Prepare to see how deep the mind's deception really goes. We'll uncover what it truly means to understand and reclaim your own mind. Let's dive right into it. Every human being carries a shadow, a dark psychological architecture built from instinct, trauma, and hidden desire. Psychologists call this the unconscious mind, but in modern science it's more than just Freud's dusty concept. It's a living algorithm inside you. Studies from the Max Planck Institute reveal that our brains make decisions up to 7 seconds before we consciously decide, meaning your mind already knows your choice before you do. Unbelievable, wouldn't you say? That means every gut feeling you've ever had, every impulse, every snap judgment is the product of a silent computation happening beneath awareness. Neuroscientists now believe that up to 95% of our behavior is driven by unconscious processes, not logic, not intention, but automatic scripts written by experience, emotion, and environment. In other words, your free will may just be your brain's illusion to keep you sane while it quietly runs the show. Do you believe free will truly exists, or is it an illusion your mind lets you keep? Dark psychology isn't just about how others control you, it's about how your own brain manipulates you. Sounds intense, right? You think you're irrational? Think again. Your subconscious mind filters 11 million bits of information per second. That's 11 million bits. But your conscious mind can only process about 40 bits per second, a microscopic fraction of reality. That means 99.9999% of reality never even reaches your awareness. Cognitive scientists call this selective perception. It's what makes you ignore uncomfortable truths or stay loyal to ideas that secretly harm you. It's the reason two people can witness the same event and swear they saw entirely different things. It's why your brain edits out visual details every time you blink, creating the illusion of a continuous, seamless world. And studies in cognitive neuroscience show that even your memories aren't recordings, they're reconstructions, rewritten slightly each time you recall them. In other words, reality isn't what your eyes show you, it's what your mind decides you can handle. Still sounds intense, right? Ever notice how ads seem to know what you want before you do? That's no accident. It's called neuro-targeting, using your browsing patterns, dopamine triggers, and emotional language to predict and direct your next move. So be aware of your next move. Now, let's enter the mind of the manipulators, those who wield dark psychology as a weapon. Psychologists describe the Dark Triad, a trio of traits often found in people who use charm, deception, and emotional control to get what they want. Machiavellianism, deception for power, the strategist's mask. It's manipulation disguised as logic, a calculated use of others as chess pieces for personal gain. Narcissism, obsession with ego and admiration, the mirror's prison. A need for admiration so deep that others become reflections, not people. Psychopathy, absence of empathy or guilt, the cold void. No empathy, no remorse, just only wants results, that's it. These traits often overlap in leaders, influencers, and sometimes in ourselves as well. Research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology suggests people high in dark triad traits often rise faster in power hierarchies. Not because they're better leaders, but because they exploit empathy gaps in those around them. They instinctively recognize emotional weaknesses, the need to belong, to be validated, to feel seen, and use them as levers of control. In the corporate world, studies have found that mild psychopathic traits can actually predict success in high-pressure leadership roles, while In politics, Machiavellian tendencies often correlate with greater influence, as those who manipulate perception can shape entire narratives. On social media, narcissistic patterns thrive, feeding on the algorithmic reward of likes and attention, a psychological feedback loop of ego and exposure. If success required manipulating others, would you do it? Let me know in the comments below. Manipulation isn't always external. Sometimes the puppet master isn't someone else at all. It's your own brain. Every day we believe we're choosing freely which job to take, which person to trust, what to desire. Yet psychology suggests that our choices may already be scripted by unseen mental forces, which brings us to the next layer of the human mind, the illusion of choice next. You might think you're making choices freely, but modern psychology shows otherwise. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely demonstrated that context, wording, and framing can shift decision-making by up to 70%, even when the choices are identical in outcome. Even simple colors or background music can alter how long we look at a product or how generous we feel in experiments. Just the presentation of an option rewires how your brain perceives value. For example, in one famous study, people preferred a subscription labeled Best Value over the same one labeled named Basic, even when the content is identical. Your brain doesn't see reality, it sees context. This is called the framing effect, a bias so powerful that it can override logic, ethics, and even morality. You think you're weighing options. The truth, you're reacting to invisible cues, carefully crafted to steer your subconscious toward a predictable choice. In 2000, psychologist Sheena Iyengar offered shoppers 24 jam flavors, and almost no one bought. However, when she reduced it to 6 flavors, sales increased by over 600%. The more choices people have, the less free they feel. A paradox called choice overload. Philosophers have wrestled with this paradox for centuries. The ancient Greeks called it ananke, necessity, the chain of cause and effect that even gods could not escape. In modern neuroscience, we call it determinism, the idea that every thought is a chemical reaction with no room for true spontaneity. The illusion of choice is one of the most elegant forms of psychological control, and it works because your mind craves certainty more than truth. Your choices feel real because your brain edits the story to make them feel real. You are, in essence, both the author and the character of a narrative being written milliseconds ahead of your awareness. Ever wondered why you sometimes sabotage your own happiness? That's your subconscious enforcing predictable pain over unpredictable change. When you question the illusion begins to question you. So ask yourself, which side of the mirror are you really on? Carl Jung called it the shadow, the side of you that hides your deepest impulses, envy, aggression, and desires. But here's the twist. Repressing your shadow doesn't make it disappear. It makes it stronger and more unconscious. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Modern psychology confirms this. Go check it out. The more you deny unwanted emotions, anger, jealousy, fear, the more they manifest through projection. Modern therapy now shows that integrating your shadow, acknowledging your hidden drives, leads to profound psychological growth and self-mastery. You begin to see in others what you refuse to see in yourself. The bully who calls others weak fears their own vulnerability, and the perfectionist who mocks mistakes secretly fears being flawed. Psychologists call this ego defense, a built-in mechanism of the psyche that maintains identity by burying contradiction. Neuroscience now supports Jung's intuition. Studies using fMRI scans show that when people suppress unwanted thoughts, the prefrontal cortex and amygdala engage in a neuro-tug-of-war, reason versus emotion. The more you suppress, the stronger the emotional circuits become. The more the shadow literally gains neurological power. It's like pressing down on a spring. The longer you push, the higher it snaps back. And when it does, it can emerge as anxiety, self-sabotage, or what Jung called the return of the repressed. Every human being carries this internal conflict, a double life of light and darkness. The philosopher Nietzsche described it as the beast within. Rather than destroy the shadow, he suggested we integrate it, to transform instinct into strength, fear into awareness, chaos into creativity. If you had to confront your darkest self, what truth do you think would scare you most? What if the traits you dislike most about yourself aren't flaws, but unfinished strengths? What hidden aspect of your shadow might actually be trying to protect you? Integration doesn't mean becoming perfect, it means becoming whole. When you face your shadow, you gain not purity, but power, the ability to act with awareness rather than impulse. And this raises a deeper question for you. If parts of you act without your permission, how much control do you truly have? In the next segment, we'll explore how the mind continues to protect and deceive itself, sometimes rewriting memories, sometimes bending reality, all in the name of survival. The human mind is a master of illusion, not by accident, but by design. Your brain doesn't show you the world as it is. It shows you what you need to see to survive. In fact, neuroscientists estimate that your senses take in roughly 11 million bits of information per second, yet your conscious mind can only process about 40 bits of it. The rest filtered, edited, and rewritten by your subconscious. The brain can literally erase or rewrite memories to protect the ego. The hippocampus and amygdala can distort memory under emotional stress, a phenomenon called memory reconsolidation or perceptual filtering, meaning your brain might be lying to you for your own safety. You don't live in the world as it is, you live in the world as your mind lets it be. Research by neuroscientist Elizabeth Loftus shows that memory is astonishingly malleable. Eyewitnesses can recall events that never happened simply because their brain filled in the gaps. That's why trauma survivors often recall details differently over time. The mind protects, edits, and rewrites, but it also hides. It's not deception, it's self-preservation. The mind is both storyteller and editor, always rewriting its script to protect your identity. Psychologists have long studied this phenomenon through confirmation bias, cognitive dissonance, and motivated reasoning. The mind, your mind uses mechanisms to protect its worldview, even if that means bending the truth. Ancient philosophers call this the veil of Maya, the illusion that blinds humans from seeing reality as it truly is. Modern neuroscience calls it predictive processing. The brain's attempt to match reality with its internal model, adjusting not the world, but your perception of it. For instance, when faced with evidence that challenges your beliefs, the brain's anterior cingulate cortex activates, creating stress. If both science and philosophy agree that perception is a construction, then who or what is the architect of that construction? Who decides what is real? As one neuroscientist said, the mind edits reality like a filmmaker, cutting the scenes that don't fit the narrative. The more science uncovers, the clearer it becomes reality may not be something we see, but something we create. And yet, if the mind creates the illusion, it must also hold the power to break it. Which brings us to the next question: what happens when awareness finally turns back on the illusion itself? So, how do we escape the mind's illusions? The answer isn't resistance, it's awareness. Awareness is not just consciousness, it's liberation. The moment you see the illusion, it begins to lose its power. Every thought you observe without judgment, every emotional impulse you watch rise and fall, weakens the chains of the subconscious control. The simple act of observing your own thought patterns activates the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain that reclaimed control from the subconscious. Modern psychology calls this meta-awareness, the ability to witness the mind without becoming it. Neuroscientists have observed that during mindful observation, the default mode network, the part of the brain tied to ego and self-referential thought, quiets down. That's not philosophy. The fMRI data shows the physical shift between unconscious reactivity and conscious awareness. When awareness expands, perception rewrites itself. Suddenly, manipulation loses its grip because you're no longer reacting from fear, desire, or conditioning. You're responding from clarity. Mindfulness, shadow work, journaling, and self-reflection aren't just spiritual ideas, they're neurological rewiring techniques. Think about it. Every hypnotist, advertiser, and algorithm depends on your unconscious reactions, on your autopilot self. But the moment you step into awareness, you break the feedback loop. You stop being the puppet and start becoming the puppeteer. And here's the most profound part. Awareness doesn't erase darkness, it integrates it, because the shadow only loses its grip when it's brought into light. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming whole by acknowledging the unconscious. You can't control what's unconscious, but you can illuminate it. Because the greatest illusion your mind ever created was convincing you that you were its prisoner. What thought pattern or belief you've noticed recently that might not be truly yours? Dark psychology isn't fear, it's about awakening. Because once you understand the hidden language of your own mind, no one can control you again. The real question is, now that you've seen behind the curtain, will you keep watching the illusion, or will you start exploring the truth within? If this journey opened your eyes and want to keep exploring the hidden mechanics of consciousness, manipulation, and the human psyche, hit that like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs to wake up to their own awareness. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss our next science myth busting adventure. Thanks for watching. I'm Jay, and I'll see you next time on The Curious Explorer. We don't just study the mind, we unmask it.